This is an OLED monitor, and it's supposed to make your games, photos, videos and whatnot look punchy with vibrant and highly saturated colors, just like it looks now. But the thing is, there's a good chance that if you were to connect this exact monitor to your PC, it would look like this instead. Much more dull and nowhere near as vibrant as it should be. And the same thing can happen with any wide gamut monitor, including your typical IPS or VA. But chances are that it's not your fault, and it's not the monitor's fault either. This can happen even if you set up your monitor correctly. It's because Windows messes with your colors in the background. By the way, if you're not seeing any difference here and both sides look identical to you, you want to turn off ACM first before continuing this video. To do that, right-click on the desktop, click Display Settings. Here you want to click on Color Profile and turn off Automatically Manage Color for Apps. Then you want to close and restart your browser and have another look at these clips. So what's going on here? Well, a while ago, Microsoft fundamentally changed how your PC and monitor display colors. Everything is affected really, not just photo or video editing, but this can also make your entire desktop and your games look dull. And that's all because of this little unassuming toggle option buried deep in the settings menu that should be enabled by default on your Windows 11 machine. So yeah, should you just turn it off then to get the best, most accurate colors? Well, it's not that simple, unfortunately. At its core, ACM is actually a good thing, and in some cases it can improve the color accuracy. See, without ACM, your PC and monitor actually just render colors at full blast all the time. Meaning, if you open up Paint, for example, and create the reddest image possible, your monitor will then do everything it possibly can to display the reddest red it's capable of. So naturally, this red doesn't look the same for you as it does for me, because we're likely using different monitors. And my monitor might be able to display red with a higher saturation than your monitor can, or the other way around. So we're probably not seeing the same red here. And this is where color space standards like sRGB, Adobe RGB or DisplayP3 come in. They do a bunch of things, but they also define what the reddest red can be, for example. See, these are two identical images, but one is saved in sRGB and the other one is in DisplayP3. And the P3 image looks a lot more saturated on the same monitor without changing any settings. But these two images are totally identical except for the color space metadata they carry. When I sample these colors, both show 100% pure red, green and blue. There's no difference between them. But the sRGB image looks different because sRGB only allows colors that are much less saturated. Photoshop knows that, so it restricts my monitor to whatever sRGB allows. The goal is to make the image look the same on every monitor, and that's the beauty of color management. And this is also what auto color management, or ACM, is supposed to do. It's actually pretty amazing when you think about it. Like if you publish a photo online, or a video, or an entire game, with proper color management, it can look the same for everyone. And in an ideal world, you just connect your monitor and it would show perfectly accurate colors out of the box, just like the artist or game designer intended. In reality though, it's a lot more complicated. You need a colorimeter like this and need to calibrate and profile your specific monitor. And only this gives your PC all the info it needs for truly accurate colors. But this is where ACM comes in. ACM is supposed to give you a little taste of that sweet color accuracy, or without spending money on a colorimeter and without going through all the calibration stuff. The way it does that is actually pretty clever. See, when you connect your monitor to your PC, it sends over some data telling the PC what it's capable of. Here's what that looks like for my monitor. It shows a bunch of stuff, including the manufacturer, the model name, or the max resolution it can do. But there's also this section here, the color characteristics. These are color coordinates for red, green, blue and white, that tell the PC what the monitor is capable of. It's like, hey PC, this is the reddest red I can do. Then your PC knows, okay, the monitor can display a red that's like 2 times as saturated as it needs to be. So I'm just gonna tell it to do 50% red, and that's gonna be pretty accurate. It's simple really, but effective. But before ACM was introduced, Windows had no clue what to do with this information and just completely ignored it. There were tools like NoVideo sRGB that could use this info, but Windows itself couldn't. So in theory, ACM is a big step forward. But there are still a lot of unanswered questions. Like, how accurate is it really? is the color info that the monitor provides even good enough? And even so, does ACM actually work as it should? Well, ACM works, kind of. See, this is an sRGB image that's really not supposed to look this saturated. I've disabled the calibration profile I had turned on previously, so it's no surprise that this image looks wrong. But turning on ACM fixes that without any calibration. It looks a lot less saturated now, much closer to how it's supposed to look. So the color info that the monitor provides doesn't seem too bad at first glance. Comparing it to the actual data I've measured for this exact monitor, you can see that it's not too far off really. Sure, it's not perfect. The monitor likely just provides generic color data that's intended to work across all monitors of this model, but there's about a 91% overlap between the reported and the measured color spaces, so it gets us in the right ballpark. And yeah, it does actually improve the color accuracy for sRGB content. It's still quite a bit worse than my aging ICC profile that I made over a year ago for this monitor, but it's still better than nothing. So all well and good then, and ACM was worth enabling. Well, if everything, every photo, every game, video or website was intended as sRGB content, then yes, ACM would be great. But that's not the case. Other color spaces do exist, and sometimes you also just want stuff to look more colorful. So watch what ACM does to this image. It's saved in display P3, so it's supposed to look a lot more saturated than the same image in sRGB. But with ACM on, it really doesn't. It looks identical to the sRGB image. I'm not trolling here, I'm actually switching images, but they just look identical. This is what they actually are supposed to look like. What's happening here is that ACM assumes that everything is sRGB. No matter how saturated your images, games or web browser are supposed to look, ACM restricts them to the smaller sRGB color space, effectively turning your wide gamut monitor into a standard gamut monitor with less saturated colors. And the crazy thing is, it even does this to apps like Photoshop or Chrome that are capable of true color management. Meaning if you're using an ICC profile, either because you found one online or because you have a colorimeter, apps like Photoshop won't be able to use it because of ACM. If you check the documentation on ACM, there's actually a thing called Display ICC Compatibility Helper that's supposed to make sure that apps like Photoshop and Chrome still can use their much more advanced color management system. And it says Windows automatically enables the helper for some popular apps. But I guess Photoshop and Chrome aren't popular enough, because in my testing they definitely are restricted to sRGB as well. So you might end up in a situation where you bought a wide gamut monitor for things like photo editing, but ACM effectively turns your expensive monitor into standard gamut sRGB monitor. But you can actually prevent this. Sure, you can just turn off ACM globally, that works, but you might want to have it enabled for some apps that don't support color management and that you want to restrict to sRGB. In that case, you can make your other apps bypass the sRGB conversion. To do that, right-click on the program, click Properties and go to the Compatibility tab. Here you want to enable Use Legacy Display ICC Color Management. You definitely want to do this for apps like Photoshop, maybe also Chrome, and probably for every competitive first-person shooter, as the higher saturation often improves visibility here. Enabling this option should also give your apps access to your ICC profile. The tricky part though is that Windows aims to construct a synthetic ICC profile first before giving it to your apps. It's taking the data from the actual ICC profile, but it might also use the color info that the display provides or data from other sources, whatever that might be. Here it gets a bit fuzzy. Apparently, if there's a big mismatch between your ICC and the other data, Windows will deem your ICC profile low quality and ignore it. I'm not sure if I'm too happy about this. It's kind of a black box, and Windows might end up not using your ICC profile for whatever reason. So if you've calibrated and profiled your own monitor, I definitely turn off ACM globally. In its current state, I feel ACM does more harm than good really. Like, the idea behind it is great, but the execution is lacking. I don't even want to imagine how many people had no idea about ACM and were disappointed with how dull their brand new monitor looks. Microsoft really needs to give us more control over ACM. They definitely need to make it color space aware and maybe make it configurable on a per app basis with different default color spaces to choose from. Thanks for watching, bis zum nächsten Video.